Well, Mr. President-elect and former President and Donald, congratulations.
Months before the election, concerns were routinely heard that if Mr. Trump won, the nation might descend into civil disorder.
The shields are going to be one of those things where we're going to be very careful about when we use them. They're mainly a defensive tool, so when we start to see rocks and bottles and we're in a place where we believe that the officers need an extra layer of protection, that's where that will be used as.
In Portland, site of riots in 2020, police were training with new polycarbonate shields, while outside Kamala Harris's residence in D.C., extra heavy security fencing was being installed. Instead, the losing army retreated into Legos, hot cocoa, and coloring books. In the 8 years between two Trump victories, opposition to the reality of his presidency has changed. After Mr. Trump's first win in 2016, something resembling civil disorder did break out.
This is what democracy looks like!
Across the country, protesters by the tens of thousands hit the streets for 3 nights of protests. In Minneapolis, protesters blocked the I-94 highway, while in Portland they took over the Hawthorne Bridge. But this time, nothing like that national tantrum erupted. The roadblockers of 2016 are 10 years older now and can vote their interests.
I suspect there's more people who are voting for Trump but are not admitting to it.
The New York Post's front page this week summarized the opposition's 2024 post-election response in 2 words: blue-hoo. It's a pertinent headline that highlights that this lack of overreaction, as we saw in 2016, is about something much more politically relevant than the lives of snowflakes.
We don't just represent registered Democrats. We represent registered Republicans and independents, and we have to.
In retrospect, the Democratic Party decline did indeed start when it moved away from blue-collar workers to instead embrace ideas emerging from the academic fringe.
I intend to chart a new way forward and grow America's middle class.
Before August, Kamala Harris had seldom mentioned the needs of the middle class. Instead, like most contemporary Democrats, she turned for her political ideas to, of all places, the universities.
From the river to the sea!
And not just the universities, but the academic fringe inside these institutions.
I think the part that really got me was when I saw faculty from the stage walk down and walk alongside students. It's just made the movement more powerful, I think, and it has empowered the students overall.
It was in the 1970s that academic Marxism took root in universities. Class defined everything. Standards were repudiated. People who did not deserve tenure got it. They created flaky academic journals for fringe ideas. Thus was born the study of gender, identity, equity, white male dominance, varieties of oppression, and omnipresent race-based consciousness.
That's what white supremacy looks like!
After the conservative professors were driven out, they turned on their own.
I'm resigning as president of the University of Missouri System.
Eventually, they end up in front of Elise Stefanik, soon to become our United Nations ambassador.
The answer is yes. That calling for the genocide of Jews violates Harvard Code of Conduct, correct?
Again, it depends on the context.
One has to ask, how did so many professional Democratic politicians sign on to all of this?
We reject the president-elect!
As with the 10-year aging of the anti-Trump protesters, the simple answer is that the traditional Democratic mindset simply aged out. It's been replaced by politicians who internalize the groupthink nonsense they learned about class and race at the universities. That's why they all sound the same.
I'll be reaffirming the federal government's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion.
How the Democratic Party reverse engineers all this is easier said than done.
Kamala, you're fired.
But say this, if 19-year-olds would rather dance the YMCA than protest divestment from Israel, it looks like progress to me.